Okay, right, so we've got my new shiny brake cylinder. Now what we're going to do, let's check that, that's it, is just put a little bit of brake grease on that face, copper grease. Important that you use the proper grease. You don't want regular grease around your brakes. That generally comes into the category of a bad thing, because it will liquefy and go over your brake shoes, and you won't stop, and then you crash, and then you'll die. So not a good thing. So this piston here is designed to move up and down in that little locating piece there. Okay, and so that's why it requires a little bit of grease just on the back there. So our little finger dab, and this is something that I forgot to do on the other side because I didn't know. So I've got to dismantle the other brakes, well, the cylinder, enough to be able to get in to just put a wee splodge of that on, and that will just allow that to move nice and freely. And we change the whole gloves. I'll leave the gloves off for now. So the next thing that we're going to do is fit the new flexible hose. So that's the new hose. Now these come in a pack of 4 in this particular incarnation, and you want the shorter two for the 2 rears. So we need the crush washer out of the packet, which is your wee little chappy there, and this screws into there with the crush washer on the inside there. Okay, so we'll do that and we'll be back. Now, one thing with this, so this goes in, if you imagine, from the back like that, and screws into here, and then that screws into the cylinder, but it doesn't go all the way in. That goes into the cylinder. Sorry, I don't think I was showing that. It doesn't go all the way in, it goes until you can't do it up anymore, and then you tighten this lock nut down onto it. So that's where your crush washer goes in. So the washer is not in there, it's actually up against the cylinder there. Important that you remember to put that little nut on there, because as I say, this piece, it won't screw in all the way. That's actually as far as it goes. Okay. Now of course what you need to remember to do before you do that is put your backing cover on. So now I've got to take it off again to put the backing cover on. Come back to me in 5 minutes. Okay, so before we put the backing plate on properly, it's just on loose at the moment, we need to reintroduce this piece, the handbrake lever. The reason being that slots behind the wheel cylinder. So we're just going to push that through now, through its little space there. Angle that around. I think I've just lost my backing plate. Yeah, I have. And that slots into those little grooves that we saw earlier on. Okay, so that's that piece. That is now in. Somewhere my dust cover has disappeared. Where is he? There he is. So the lever goes through that piece, and the bleed nipple and everything else goes through the other piece. So we'll get that one through first of all, like so, and then we just stretch it over everything else through the little hole, and it is a bit of a stretch. There we go, that's it on. There we go. Okay, right, next thing is to put back the locking tabs, the 2 locking tabs that we took off before. So we need to find where those new ones are, which is just here, and slot those on. We'll switch off for this bit because it goes on all behind the car, so you can't really see very much, but just to remind ourselves, it's that one and then that one over the top, so that it locks into those little dimply bits just there. Back in a mo. So just for the purposes of demonstration, There's those on the back of there. And now you can see I've got that brake hose attached to the back of the cylinder, complete with the crush proof washer in between, and it's nice and tightly done up. So did this one up first until it wouldn't go in any further, just give it a little tweak tight, hand tight, and then this one is the lock nut onto the washer, do that up nice and tight, and that's put the cylinder on, but it's still able to, as I was saying, slide about on its mounts. Right, now for the fun bit, getting the new shoes on. This bit's a joy. Okay, so that's the shoes loosely mounted. So we've taken the pin out of here now. We've got the lower spring and the upper spring now in place. And so what we now have to do is get the shoes, which I incorrectly called a drum earlier on, get the shoes to locate on the adjuster on the bottom. This usually involves the application of a degree of violence with the Glaswegian screwdriver. This isn't pretty, so we'll come back to it once I've finished. Okay, so we've got the shoes on. So what we're going to do now is put on the retaining springs. So you have 2 cup washers for each spring. One spring, 2 cup washers, and you'll see that the cup washers are shaped. So the cup piece goes inside the spring, so the flat is against the shoe. And the best way that I've found to do this is, first of all, put the first washer on, like so. Then get the second one. Try and angle the pin so that the flange piece is vertical or horizontal, or however you want to orientate it, and then it's easier to orientate the cup to go on as well. Get your pliers slightly open either side of the hole, and then push the spring over, and it takes a bit of fiddling about. Hold that from the back, and then once it's on, twist it, and hopefully it'll twist with it, it'll stay on, which it didn't. Mildly annoying. So we start again, get the pin orientated. You can do it with your fingers, which I have done, but it's a bit painful on the old fingertips. Okay, so pliers are open, put it over, get it all sort of centred up, hold the back, push it on and twist, and it springs off again. Let's try doing it with the fingers instead. Typically the one that's on film is the one that I'm in all the trouble with. There's a rule that governs that, or law. So push it on and turn. It does not want to turn. That's got it. So you're aiming to just turn it through 90 degrees to securely hold it in place. So what we're going to look at is just some points to note from the installation that we've done. So the orientation of the springs, so the top spring is coming through the furthest out hole and back on itself, and on the other side it's the same thing. Make sure you've got the spring orientated. It has a short coil and a long coil. Just make sure they're orientated properly. This split pin, I'm going to cut that down in a sec and then fold the ends back over. We've got the spring clips holding into place. We have the bottom spring, as I said before, coming through there, and then just holding onto that one, and the same on the other side, coming through there and onto that one. So it's kind of a little bit different to the one above. If you do one side at a time, you can come back and orientate yourself from the one that you haven't done yet. So the last job that I've got to do, I've just got to connect up the handbrake cable, not the handbrake cable, sorry, the flexible hose at the back. So that'll be the next job, and then just reconnect the handbrake cable onto its piece at the back there. That's going to take me a little while because I've got to drill the pin out somehow, or order a new pin. But when I did the other side, I did find that was a two-man job to get that over. There's a lot of tension in that cable, so I had to pull it with a pair of pliers whilst my dad slipped the pin through the hole there. And then we're going to put the drum back on. So bear with me and we'll get away with it. Right, so the more or less final job then is to refit the drum. So you probably have to adjust the brakes back a little bit to be able to do this. And there's a couple of little retaining holes there which match up with the screw holes here for the mounting screws. So place the drum on like so, and then find where you put your mounting screws. Two new mounting screws, and they just simply screw into there. Oh, he says confidently. And that will hold the drum in place. One and two. What I will do before I finish is just centre up tighten up the wheel nuts, just to ensure that that is properly centred, because that's not actually going in there. Yeah, just to make sure that's properly centred up. And then the brakes will need adjusting. Yeah, you can see there's a little bit of movement on there, so that needs centering up. So we'll do that using the wheel nuts. The brakes will then need adjusting. The system needs bleeding, which I'm not going to do now because I've got to do the front brakes yet. And of course I've got to reconnect the handbrake cable. And then that's it, job done. Thank you very much.